All because of a ring. This man's life turned into a living nightmare. The cops suspected he was involved in a jewelry heist. To force a confession out of him, the officers used methods that were beyond brutal. Even covered in wounds, Rajakanu still refused to admit he was a thief, but his stubbornness finally pushed Gurumurthy over the edge. To Gurumurthy, Rajakanu wasn't even human. He grabbed a baton and started beating him savagely, over and over again. That's when Rajakanu's brother-in-law Mosakutty begged Gurumurthy to stop, but Gurumurthy kicked him so hard he went flying. Mosakutty's head slammed against the floor, and he was knocked out cold. Even on the verge of death, Rajakanu kept repeating in a voice barely above a whisper, "I'm not a thief." Blinded by rage, Gurumurthy raised his foot and stomped down hard on his chest. That blow took his life. Gurumurthy screamed for the guards. Neither Rajakanu nor Mosakutty was responding. When a guard entered the cell, the first thing he did was throw chili powder into Mosakutty's eyes. The searing pain jolted him awake instantly. They dragged Mosakutty to a different cell. Then the guard tried the same thing on Rajakanu, tossing chili powder into his eyes. But Rajakanu didn't move. Gurumurthy immediately dumped Rajakanu's body in a neighboring district. His death was written off as a traffic accident. After that, the police sold the remaining prisoners to other jails to use as scapegoats. Gurumurthy knew exactly what he was doing. Every single one of them came from a lower caste. Even if they vanished without a trace, hardly anyone would care. Their families didn't have the resources to investigate the truth, let alone the power to go up against the police. In the past, cases like this were buried without a second thought, until one man came along and changed everything. Sengeni wanted to sue the police station, but she couldn't afford a lawyer. Almost every attorney she approached, the moment they heard she wanted to take on the cops, told her to give it up. In their eyes, this case was unwinnable. That's when someone pointed her toward Pim. Clinging to her last shred of hope, Sengeni went to find him. Pim carefully documented everything she told him, then went through every single piece of paperwork in the case file. It didn't take long before he realized the whole thing was riddled with inconsistencies. Maybe the police had gotten too cocky, so convinced that nobody would ever dig into this, that they left behind a trail of sloppy mistakes. The signatures on several key documents were all written by the same hand. Pim officially agreed to represent Sengeni and filed a case against the police. The moment Gurumurthy caught wind of it, he sent his men to drag Sengeni's daughter down to the station, hoping to pressure her into dropping the complaint. He figured a little intimidation would be enough to break her. But what he didn't count on was that he wasn't just dealing with Sengeni, he was dealing with Pim, standing right behind her. Pim immediately filed a habeas corpus petition in court. That's when it finally hit Gurumurthy. Not only could he no longer threaten Sengeni, he now had to guarantee her safety. One officer, seeming to grasp just how serious things had gotten, quickly changed his tone and urged Sengeni to withdraw her complaint. But Sengeni wouldn't budge. Backed into a corner, Gurumurthy had no choice but to escalate it to the police chief. The police chief knew that if Sengeni won, it wouldn't just take down a few officers, it would expose the entire system. Soon after, Sengeni was called into the police chief's office. He offered her a large sum of money if she agreed to drop the investigation. With that kind of cash, she and her family could live a much better life. But Sengeni still said no. Thanks to Pim's relentless investigation, the prison where Mosakutty had been transferred was finally located. Pim also uncovered evidence at the scene that pointed directly at Gurumurthy. With the proof stacked against them, there was nowhere left to hide the truth. In the end, all three officers involved were found guilty of murder by the court and arrested on the spot.